Okay, here we have a little small fan. I don't even know what brand this is. Doesn't say. Well, it's a model HVRA-4D, 12 watts, little tiny motor in these things. And let me zoom out some. The fan does function. It's got this nice plug on it, very period correct. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of these cheap little modern fans, but they do have their purposes. Not all the time you want something that is A, loud, B, something you give a shit about, or C, moves a lot of air. Sometimes you just want a slight breeze, and this fan is great for that. It does work, as I will demonstrate. The blades are kind of bent or something though, because it does indeed vibrate. And it also, after a while, it gets noisy. It's not been exactly treated great as far as the conditions it's been used in the past. And I do believe it probably could use some lubrication. There's no such thing as a permanently lubricated motor. There's just a motor that needs lubrication that can't get it because it doesn't have oil ports. So if you have one of these that's stuck, doesn't turn, or is loud, you might need oil. The idea of a permanently lubricated motor is that once the lubrication wears out and the motor will no longer run because it's out of lubrication, at that point you are designed to throw the motor away. Or the motor is designed to be thrown away, I should say. But that's not what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this grill here, which is held on by 3 Phillips screws, which are painted into their holes, so they're kind of difficult to remove. I seem to be doing an okay job of it though. Yeah, there's not much quality or thought put into these things. They're just kind of thrown together. Those lights are really, really hot. I mean, I can... It's insane. Okay, so here's the cover off of it, and the UL sticker is inside of there. You can see the fan is dirty. It's got dirt on it. I'm not worried about that, although I might do a little bit of this. That is moist dirt, not moist now, but it appears that it's gotten on there at a time when there was moisture involved, which means that it's not like regular dust and it's simply going to come off. So these motors are, these blades are pressed onto here, and they can be removed from the back with a little Allen key, which I must find now. This wouldn't happen to be the correct size, would it? No, I'm not going to get that lucky. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the Allen key that I needed. And then it's tight, so we put it in this way. I'm trying to not get in the shot too much here so you can kind of see. Yeah. There we go. That was in there. I can just picture some little Chinese guy tightening that thing in there so much. Of course, even though the screw is nearly all the way out, it's still, there we go. Here's the blade. That's bent. Now the motor shaft, it's got crap all over it, is comically tiny. Hold on. Look at that. That has to be one of the tiniest motor shafts. Well, hell, even the motor. Look, here's my hand. Look at that. It's puny. And of course it's rusty. So, let's see, that's about as far as I've ever torn into this thing. It actually was in the back of a mini fridge cooling the compressor. The cooling fan for said fridge had gone out, and it was like $50 for a replacement. So I went to Walmart and bought this. It was like $8, and it did an amazing job. It worked fine. Looks like this. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's weird. Okay, so it's held in there with plastic clips as well. I just want to make sure that you can see this. It's held in there with plastic clips, and here we go. Maybe a pain to get out. Huh. Okay. This was made in 2017. That's the date stamped on the back of this fan. So, you know. Okay. So here's how the motor comes apart at this point. Here are the back bearings, or the back bearing. Here's the rotor and the front bearing. There's kind of an interesting phenomena going on there, which I'll show in a second. And I'm just going to try to clear the dust of everything. Okay. Here is the rotor, and there's a little patch of rust right there, but nowhere else on it. I don't know why that would be. This fan was running constantly. It was in the back of a fridge, and it was running constantly. I just had it connected directly to the power line. I didn't have it connected to the thermostat that kicked the compressor off or anything like that. And this fan was running constantly, and I just dropped a little fiber washer on the floor. There it is. Okay, this fan was running constantly since 2017, up until about a couple months ago, when said fridge took a dump. So I don't know why there would be just one spot of that is damaged or rusted. Anyway, here are the bearings. Of course, there's no oil ports. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom way in so that you can see the process of oiling these guys. We'll just start with this guy. We'll come back to that. Then what I'm going to do, okay, better move this back. Ow. Sit straight, damn it. Working hard to create quality content for you guys. Sure. There's the bearing. And I'm just going to take the oil and put it around there, and you'll see it gets soaked into there, because there's a felt pad. There's a felt pad inside of there, and it's going to soak it up. So I'm going to set it flat. I'm just going to fill it like that to the top, and let that suck down what it will, and then afterwards I will dry that with a paper towel after it's sat like that for a while. This one goes all the way through, so I can't fill it like that on both sides. So what I'll have to do is just slowly add it around there. And if you're wondering why my hand is shaking so much, it's because I have to apply pressure to the bottom of this while holding it up, and I am dumping oil all over the floor. Okay, great, thank you, carpet. The front bearing seems to be sucking up more oil than the back bearing. Anyway, I'm going to let those sit for about 5 minutes. Just try to suck that oil up, and then I'll be back. These light bulbs, they're 375 watt movie bulbs, and they only have a 2.5 hour life, so well, average life, so I don't want to expend them too quickly because they're not too cheap. Okay, so those have been about 5 minutes. I've also taken that time to sand the outside of the rotor and the inside of the stator, just to get that rust out of there. That could have been part of the noise that it was making. It only did it when it got heated up. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is take some of these wipes. They're just dry. I don't know what these are. I've had them for a long time. They're like really thin paper towels almost. I stole them out of the science class in high school when one of the teachers was fired, and they got us a new one. So I just kind of took these. There's a couple of boxes of them. Anyway, I'm just going to soak up some of that oil. Although I do want to leave them kind of wet. I like to have too much oil as opposed to not enough. Too much, yeah, it's a little bit messy. Not enough, well, then you're going to have noises and your bearings are going to get wrecked. So we're going to go ahead and put this back together. And is it in the shot? Yes. Ow, that light is hot. Sure. If it's not in the shot, I'm very sorry. So we're going to go ahead and put this back together. This goes in there. I'm going to put it in there. Okay, that feels very smooth, that front bearing. See, these do have felt wicks, and you can add oil to these. There's just no oil for it. You have to take them apart, and that's how most modern fans are. But nobody takes them apart and does that. It's just when the bearings get dried out and they start running like crap or making a lot of noise or get stuck because there's no oil in them. Well, they're designed for you to throw them away, even though they can still have a good bit of life left in them after. So now it's going to be stuck. Yeah, it's stuck. So what we do is we take this and go like that. These are self-aligning bearings. Now you can see that it's going to spin just fine. For good measure, I'll put a drip in the top here as well, because sometimes sometimes it can take a while for the oil light bearings to actually allow that to set. I'm going to take these and just kind of make them more straightened out than they were before. That looks fine. These, can you even see what I'm doing? These type of blades are really thin, like nearly tin can thin. So as long as they're somewhat close to being not totally bent, when they're running at high RPMs, they'll kind of straighten themselves out just from the force of turning that fast. Now putting this back together, let's see, the switch is there. Okay. So it goes this way. I don't understand exactly how this is supposed to be done. Well, it's not supposed to be done. But I don't understand why it's even like that. I put those screws in too soon is part of the problem. I'm sure you all were yelling at me about that one. These screws go in after that is secured there into here. I feel like I'm getting like a sunburn from these lights. I mean, this is insane. And they keep making this cracking sound. It's kind of terrifying. But they are really bright, and they do have a really good color rendering index. I mean, everything looks great underneath them. Okay. What if they make an LED equivalent? Not that I would use them anyway, but I mean, these are extremely bright, but extremely hot, and they only last 4 hours. And they're 375 watts. See, is this even keyed? No, it's not. It's not keyed. You just gotta line it up kind of correctly and hope you did it properly. Sure. Put our Allen key back in, or screw back in. There we go. I don't suppose that it has to be 2 million foot-pounds like it was before. That's probably fine. Let me try to kind of bend these. Okay, that's still really bad. I think they're, I don't know, I mean, they were really bent from the factory. It's not like they were straight to begin with. Let's just see how this runs. It was already on. Okay, yeah, it's vibrating quite a bit. I'm trying to figure out which blade it is that's... Okay, it's this one. Okay, that's a lot better. That is a lot better. And it's quiet too. It's nearly silent. Let me go turn this other fan off. That is a lot better. Turn it off. For one of these little fans with such lightweight blades, that was actually a really good spin down time. I don't think I've ever seen one spin down that well. Most of these come with the bearings already dry from the factory. Okay. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter which direction this grill goes back on in, does it? Because it has no whatever the thing in the center is called, no badge. It's just blank. Okay. That's great. These screws and the threads that they go into, kind of crappy. But then again, these are like $5 to $8 brand new, so hell, I think you can even buy a very similar one, if not the exact same one. I mean, I'm sure one or two companies make all these anyway, at the Dollar Tree for $1. Of course, they're raising their price to $1.25 now. There's a bunch of stuff at the Dollar Tree that is simply not worth that extra 25 cents. Okay, now that one is just stripped out. Now, why is it making noise now? Yeah, I guess it's just... That's irritating. Hear that? If it's straight, it doesn't do it. It only does it when it's going upward. It's fine blowing downward. Okay. Well, it's definitely a lot better. And I'm not using it blowing upward either. Anyway, I mean, not either. So, I'm going to call that good. No, the blades aren't completely perfectly balanced, but they're better than they were. Okay, well, that's all for this one.